good afternoon, everyone. And so I'm Eric Hoskins, for those of you who don't know me. And, to follow up with the last point that Joe mentioned, and, I think we can all agree this is probably the clearest issue that it is absolutely essential at all levels of government and beyond, that all partners need to and have to work together in order to make a difference on housing and on homelessness. Joe's comment about shelters, I think we probably also all agree that shelters, although necessary, are not a solution. The solution is to actually create an environment where we are preventing homelessness in the first place, and we are providing the needed supports, those multifaceted supports that provide the stability for individuals who may find themselves falling into homelessness, to provide those mental health supports, to ensure that, when you think about it, this isn't about affordable housing, it's about affordable living, right? And if you can't afford to live, you can't afford to have a place to call home. And regrettably, some of those individuals reside in shelters, and even more regrettably, many of them reside on the streets, and a great number of them, too many of them, die. I think, it was a remarkable week this week to learn that the federal government is back. A $40 billion investment over the next 9 years is really an incredible, unprecedented investment, particularly, I think, as others have already mentioned, that the past number of years, the past decade, we haven't seen the federal government, like on so many issues, we haven't seen them at the table. To see them come forward with such a substantial investment that will truly help all of us who are concerned, the community agencies that are doing the hardest work at the front line to provide housing across the board in so many different ways, to those individuals that are experiencing challenges with finding that sustainable place to call home, or are finding themselves on the street, all the way up to all levels of government. That federal investment that was announced by the Premier. And I'll just add to that, for me, I think that there was, and this has been noticed, but it comes below the $40 billion investment, but the fact that the Prime Minister of this country declared housing as a human right is so important. I subscribe to that view. Certainly the United Nations views it that way, but for the highest political leader in this country to declare that everybody has an inherent right to a place to call home, a home that is safe and secure, that provides them with the stability in their lives, and importantly, affordability is part of that. Others have already touched on, I focus as well on those important social determinants of health that will hopefully prevent homelessness in the first place, but also lead to affordability. And we've made some important decisions, as was mentioned just last week. I sit just 2 seats away from the Premier, from Kathleen Wynne, in the legislature, and I can't recall when seeing the level of emotion in her when we finally passed the legislation that's raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And she turned to the whole caucus and said, today is truly an historic day. Because that increase to $14 an hour starting January 1st and to $15 the following January. That really speaks to the importance of individuals who are, quite frankly, struggling the most in society, for them to be able to have greater, it may not be enough, but greater financial stability, so on that affordability crisis, that affordability issue. The steps that we've taken for childcare as well, 100,000 more childcare spaces, the free prescription medicines for all children up to their 25th birthday that's going to start January 1st as well, the pharmacare, the OHIP Plus pharmacare for children. The 250,000 more students are going to college and university with absolutely free tuition. And of course, the critically important investments in mental health, many of which I'm responsible for as the Minister of Health. But for example, in the last 2 years, adding across the province 2,000 more supportive housing units. So you can call them affordable housing units, but specifically for people that are facing mental health challenges in their lives as well. So it really is, you know, there are so many touch points to this issue, and I know we're going to have the opportunity through discussion to talk about many of them. The fact that we've now added rent control, not just for buildings after 1991, but for all buildings, regardless of when they were built, or the changes, and I think even Josh Matlow is hopefully happy with this as well, the changes that we've made to the OMB, where we've really reduced the powers of the OMB and we've dramatically increased the level of community authority over and involvement in the OMB, and reduced even the issues that can go forward to the OMB, so they won't be able to challenge the city or the communities nearly as much as before. So ladies and gentlemen, we have so far to go. You know, we talk about this issue, all of us, so frequently, and we know that there are so many investments that are needed, and we're so gratified by the work that agencies and advocates are doing across this province on the issue, whether it's homelessness or affordable housing or broader strategies that impact the sustainability of individuals and families. We're so gratified by that important work, but we all of us sitting back here know that we are just at the beginning of the sorts of investments that we need to make. This is such a high priority, and we know we have a long way to go, but I look forward to your questions so we can do our best to answer them today.